We all like to believe we make our decisions based on logic. But what if I told you that most of your critical choices, the ones where you comply or you submit or you just stay put, were actually made for you before you were even aware of it? Today, we're mapping a really powerful invisible force, fear. But not as an emotion. We're talking about fear as a mechanism that silently rewrites your reality.
So let's just jump right in with a direct question for you. Do you really believe you control your fear? Or is it possible that fear is actually controlling the very reality you perceive? And listen, this isn't about courage or weakness, not at all. It's about understanding the basic hardware of the human mind.
Okay, so the first signal we need to decode is a fundamental misunderstanding. We tend to treat fear like it's just a feeling, something to be managed or overcome. But the real signal is this: fear isn't just an emotion, it's a function.
What we're actually talking about here is fear as a reality filter. Think of it like a piece of code running in the background of your operating system. It's this subconscious mechanism that actively re-engineers how you see the world and what choices you think you have before your rational mind even gets a chance to weigh in. It's not some intruder, it's part of the system.
Right, so if fear is a filter, it must leave a pattern, right? An observable trace in our behavior. And it does. We can actually see its work by looking for three very distinct footprints it leaves on our decision making.
These are the three main patterns we see again and again. First, our thinking gets incredibly narrow. Second, the potential for any kind of loss gets magnified way out of proportion. And third, our available options, well, they just seem to vanish into thin air. Let's break down each one of these. So the first footprint is that our thoughts narrow. See, a normal analytical mind can handle nuance, it can weigh complex variables, think about long-term consequences, but the second that fear filter kicks in, the brain makes a trade. It trades accuracy for speed. Your cognitive bandwidth just collapses, and the world flattens out into these simple binary choices: threat or safety, fight or flight. It forces you into this purely reactive state where immediate survival is all that matters.
Next up, loss gets magnified. When we're not under threat, we're usually motivated by gain, right? We ask ourselves, what could I win here? But the fear filter completely flips that script. The primary question becomes, what might I lose? And this is such a crucial shift. The desire to avoid pain becomes a far more powerful motivator than the desire for improvement. It anchors us to what we already have, even if it's not what we actually want.
And then there's the third footprint, which is maybe the most powerful of all. Your options vanish. A calm mind is creative. It can see multiple paths forward. Fear systematically erases those paths from your perception. And suddenly, compliance or submission or just doing nothing, they don't just feel like the easiest options, they feel like the only options. Real control is achieved when the other person no longer even perceives that they have a choice. So we've seen the pattern. Now let's look at the mechanism that's driving it. What's actually happening under the hood that makes us behave this way? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental survival trade-off that's hardwired right into our biology. The clinical term for what's going on is the amygdala hijack. This is your brain's ancient threat detection center, the amygdala, basically seizing control from the newer, more rational part of your brain. It's like a biological circuit breaker that prioritizes raw survival over any kind of nuanced thinking. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. It was just designed for a world with physical predators, not complex social threats. And this chart illustrates the math behind that hijack. Psychologically, the pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing. It's a concept called loss aversion, and that intense fear of loss is exactly what the fear filter leverages, making us incredibly conservative and risk-averse whenever we feel threatened. So when you understand this mechanism, you start to see the real cost of being unaware of it. When your behavior is governed by these automatic, powerful responses, you don't just become cautious, you become predictable. And predictability, well, that's the absolute foundation of control. So who loses power by not understanding this signal? Well, it's the employee who is too afraid of losing their job to speak up about a bad decision. It's the partner who fears conflict more than a slowly deteriorating relationship. It's the investor who's paralyzed by the fear of loss and misses every opportunity. And it's the voter whose decisions are easily swayed by any messaging that's designed to trigger that threat response. Their actions can be anticipated, and because of that, they can be managed. But here's the thing. There is a real advantage to be gained from knowing all this. It's not some tactic or a trick.
It's a fundamental shift in your perception that allows you to see the very options that fear is deliberately trying to hide from you.
The crucial point is this. The advantage lies in shifting from a default perception to an aware perception. So instead of just reacting to the threat, you learn to observe the filter itself. You can actually say to yourself, okay, my thinking is narrowing. My fear of loss is being magnified. My options seem to be disappearing. That single moment of observation, it creates a tiny space between the stimulus and your response. You stop being a character in the drama and you become an observer of the mechanism.
Look, this entire analysis is pretty much useless unless you turn it inward. The final step isn't to judge other people, but to identify how this exact same filter operates inside of you.
So first question for you, what situations consistently trigger your fear response? Is it public speaking, financial uncertainty, the threat of social rejection? Try to be really specific. Identify your triggers. Second, what are you most afraid to lose? Is it your status, your security, a particular relationship, maybe an identity you've built for yourself? This is the anchor that holds all of your fear-based decisions in place.
And finally, which options consistently seem to disappear the moment you feel under pressure? Is it the option to negotiate? The option to just wait? The option to simply say no? This question reveals what fear is actively stealing from you. These are not comfortable questions, I know, but seeing the filter is the only way to really understand what's shaping your reality. This is the Dark Psychology Atlas,